when I opened up my eyes, she was now floating parallel to my body, right above me, inches from my face. I started recently dating this girl named Melissa. I met her through one of my friends. We came from very different backgrounds. She was well dressed and pretty, and her family was pretty well off because they owned this chain of retail stores in the area. I came from a broken family with a very poor background, and I like to dress in torn up jeans and old well-worn t-shirts with bands and video game stuff on them. It was always uncomfortable staying overnight at her aunt's house because she had recently moved back in with her. But they were pretty accepting people. Melissa and her aunt were both very avid ghost believers. Her aunt, I guess, even helped local police solve some investigations based on her psychic ability. I don't personally believe that stuff. It just sounds flat out weird to me. But they did tarot cards and they had all this other weird shit around the house like sage, crystals, and different stones of various shapes and sizes. I personally don't buy into a lot of that stuff. I think a lot of it is bullshit. But even though I thought it was bullshit, I had my own personal experiences as a kid with ghosts. I was 5 years old. I was so terrified from these experiences that I had trouble even remembering any of them. All I can remember is hiding underneath my blankets in this kid's tent that was sitting on top of my bed, just scared stiff, completely unable to move. I might have blocked out every single situation, but I did not block out the way that it made me feel. I definitely remembered how that felt and never forgot it. Thankfully, that place was just temporary and I didn't spend more than a year or two there. Plus, my mom was working like crazy to support us, so I spent practically half of the time over at my grandma's anyways. But yeah, I most definitely did believe in ghosts. I just felt like any type of attention to it would open up this whole can of worms that I didn't want to get involved with at all, because I was just still that little kid who was frightened from the situations that happened previously. During this time, Melissa and I have been practically inseparable. I like staying at her aunt's house, even though, yeah, I felt really out of place at how I was living in comparison to them. The house was just enormous, and her aunt was only around at night because she was busy keeping her businesses running. So we practically had this place to ourselves. It was a lot easier to feel comfortable there because I wasn't getting a lot of those nosy personal questions that most people's family members give you when you first start going out. To put the size of this house in perspective a little bit, her room was big enough to be a small house itself. It even had a pool table in it, a 70-inch flat-screen TV, and a king-size bed that looked like it had no business being anywhere in this room. A few weeks went by and we spent every single night together. But eventually I had to spend the night alone by myself because Melissa was getting called in for mandatory overtime, and she was getting wiped out from the hours. She's a CNA and they are severely understaffed. She needed the rest of the time that she had to sleep because she was going to be working overtime double shifts for a couple of days straight, and I totally understood why. But it made me feel a little uneasy having to go home and lay in my bed in my rundown upstairs apartment, and I mean, this place was a shithole. It had wooden floors where all the varnish had been severely worn out and all the cracks started to fill it with dust and dirt that you couldn't possibly get to with a mop. The paint was peeling on the walls and the kitchen was very much the same. I like to tell other people that I live in a 2-bedroom apartment, but the actual truth is that it was only a 1-bedroom. I set my queen-size bed up in the living room and decided to give my daughter her own bedroom when she came to visit every other weekend. I guess before I lived there was a bunch of junkies and meth addicts squatting in the place, so I'm sure that had something to add a little bit of the shithole mess that I was now living in, but it was better than nothing. Before that, I was just renting a room for my buddy. We were really good friends until we started to spend a little bit too much time together. So if you've ever moved in with a friend and had it change the entire dynamic of your friendship, you totally understand what I'm talking about. Having this freedom and time away from my buddy felt great, even if I am living in a 1-bedroom apartment that used to be a den of junkies. Plus, my downstairs neighbor was pretty cool. He was an older gentleman living on retirement who liked to build computers in his free time. So I didn't really have to worry about other people coming and going for parties. I'm in my early 30s and I like it to be quiet when I get back. So this works out pretty well for me. I pulled into the gravel driveway, tired and sore from the day of work. I grabbed my lunchbox and my hat, making that I just got the shit kicked out of me at work, walked through the screen door and up the stairs. That's where my apartment was. I didn't feel like showering, but I made myself shower because the shop at work has all these metal shavings and dust and all kinds of crap floating around, and from the second you get in there you're starting to break a sweat, so everything just kind of sticks to you. I didn't want to shower, but I definitely had to at this point. Even though I didn't want to, I will admit the water felt nice and took some of the achiness out of my joints and muscles. After scrubbing all the grease, grime, and dust off myself, I just wanted to lie down. It was a really long day and I was very glad that it was the end of it. So when I was with Melissa Melissa, I had no problem whatsoever sleeping in the dark, but even though I'm a bit ashamed to admit it, those things that happened when I was a kid with ghosts scared me so badly, I always had to have some kind of light on. Even if it was the TV or bathroom light, it didn't matter. The room just couldn't be completely dark. I've never been able to do without since, and tonight was no different. I put on some random movie, then turned the volume almost all the way down, and at some point I must have drifted off to sleep. I suddenly woke up to the sound of scratches on the side of the wall. I looked over to my clock. It was 2:26 in the morning. My whole body felt heavy, and I had this panicked feeling coming from inside my chest. I was ice cold but still sweating. Then I heard the scratches coming closer and closer and closer to my bed. I was getting that same petrified feeling that I had when I was a kid. And then I saw a woman, or what looked like to be a woman, right in front of me, just about 5 feet from the bed. Her hair was long and black but disgusting and matted. She looked like a corpse that had no flesh on it, or like she was badly burned. She wore this long, really disgusting tattered dress that came all the way down to her ankles. And to top it off, she was literally floating several inches off of the ground. I could see her clearly, just as if you and I were sitting down at the bar having a conversation. But one thing I couldn't see was her face. You could see these dark patches where you would assume her eyes would be and this dark spot where her mouth would be, but there were no defining features. It was as if somebody was wearing a mask that covered all the features of their face, like one of those spandex suit masks, but it was black and it was in the middle of the night. My heart was beating so damn fast, she just came out of nowhere. She was just there, and I was in full-on panic mode. And when I say panicking, I was fucking terrified to death. Then she started to slowly float towards me with her contorted skeletal body. To this day, I have never been so scared in my entire life. She was now coming closer and closer to me. I couldn't move. I didn't know what to do. I was just petrified, as if I was saran wrapped to the bed. If you've ever been this scared before in your life, you will totally understand how I'm feeling right now. I tried closing my eyes. I wanted this just to be over. I wanted to open my eyes and have it be over. What the hell am I supposed to do? I was breathing so fast that I thought I was going to hyperventilate. And then that panicked feeling in my chest just got worse and worse. I kept telling myself over and over in my head, this isn't real, this can't be real, none of this is real. I just wanted to open up my eyes and have it be normal. Just a really bad, crappy dream. That's all I wanted this to be. And when I opened up my eyes, she was now floating parallel to my body, right above me, inches from my face. I woke up screaming, gasping for air, covered in sweat. I quickly jumped out of bed. Was that really just a dream? I had never had a dream felt so real before. It just felt as real as any other day that I had. But it was morning time. I could see the sun starting to shine through my cracked windows. I was literally running around the apartment just checking if there was someone else there. I was still panicking, absolutely scared shitless from what just happened. I checked my windows, checked behind all doors, I checked in the closet, I checked in the cupboards to see if there was someone else there. I was even thinking, what if one of those junkies broke into my place and I somehow just worked this into my dream? I was trying really hard to rationalize this, but my mind was going into a million different directions. It took me a little over an hour to start tapering that down, and in this one-bedroom apartment, there are only so many places that you can look. I had looked through them all at least 5 times or more. I just sat on my bed trying to collect my thoughts. After I had calmed down a bit, I looked at my phone and realized I had to get ready for work. I had to go through the whole routine of making my food and getting everything ready that I needed. It typically takes me a lot of time to get ready because I work 10 to 12-hour shifts. If you don't pack enough food and decide to drive to the gas station on break, that is still part of your 15-minute break. I didn't want to spend it driving, trying to buy stuff that was twice the price of what I could just make for myself at home. Part of me started to laugh at myself, thinking it was just a dream. But still, deep down in the pit of my stomach, I could feel that little bit of doubt starting to work its way in. My time was running out and I had to keep my mind focused on making sure I didn't forget to bring something. If I did, I work 30 minutes away from home and there is no way to come back unless you're sick or it's at the end of your shift. I was about 10 minutes early and quickly made my way through this giant warehouse type building in the area where I had my metal desk next to a bandsaw and a list of parts to pull and clean. Thank God I'm allowed to bring my own radio or use a set of headphones because 10 hours would drag ass without some kind of music. My mind shifted right to work and the music helped me get my mind into a groove and off of what happened just the night before. The cool thing is, I don't have to work with anybody or right next to anybody. I just have my area with a list of stuff to do. But it is still hard work. The box fan helps a little, but after an hour, your shirt's just about soaked through. I work in a welding shop, and no, there is no air conditioning. If it's 86 degrees outside, then you can count on it being 96 degrees in here. I got myself into a regular work groove, but occasionally my mind went back to last night when I was sleeping, or thought I was sleeping. I tried not to think about it because if I do, it'll just eat away at me. If it was just a dream, maybe I'd somehow make it real by just putting too much focus into it. And I definitely did not want that to happen. As soon as it was time to clock out, those thoughts about whatever the hell that was started to drift back into my head. It became even worse when I was driving home because it's 11 o'clock at night. I have a long stretch of highway to drive and there are hardly any cars on the road to be seen. And just that element of darkness, with fewer cars to concentrate on, made me feel very uneasy. I don't know why, but I kept on looking into my rearview mirror off and on to make sure that there was nothing behind me in the back seat. I get it, it sounds stupid to do that, but that fear felt so real to me. It started to feel even more real the closer that I got. Yes, I had that fear, but I tried to tell myself it was stupid and that this night was going to be completely different than the last. As I pulled into my gravel driveway, I almost felt like something was in the window, even though there wasn't, just waiting for me to get home. When I got in, I started to go about my routine. Taking a shower, I decided to turn the TV on and the bathroom light on. Now, I take sleeping medication at night that was prescribed to me because I have insomnia, so I knew I could confidently go to sleep no matter what. But as I was getting everything ready, I could tell that I was way more on edge than I typically was. I was still in that mode of looking behind things and other places. After washing up and brushing my teeth, I tried to lay out some of the things I needed for tomorrow so I didn't have to be in such a rush like I was today. I took my sleeping medication and just laid down in bed. A little anxious, but those feelings went away as soon as I could feel the medication kick in. I woke up again and I had that exact same feeling. I looked at my alarm clock and it was 2:30 a.m. Except the one difference is that I could actually move. I sat up quickly. The light from the bathroom was still on, illuminating my makeshift bedroom, and the TV was still playing one thing after another on Netflix. This gave me a little bit of relief, thinking that it was not going to be like the night before. I took one more look at the clock that was to the right of me, sitting on the end table. Then, as soon as I turned my head back to the center where my TV was, the TV was now off. And there she was, face to face with me. Those dark holes where her eyes should be, and her mouth was still this gaping pit of blackness. Everything else came in crystal clear, but her eyes, if you could call them that, were just an empty void of darkness. And to top it off, she was also touching me with her hands, those bony, disgusting, decrepit, burned-looking claws, as if she was trying to caress me like I was some kind of doll to play with. I mean, she was touching my face, and at that point, I was pretty much a rag doll in the moment because my whole body just shut down. I mentally just checked the fuck out. I was feeling so much fear that it made me pretty much a husk of what I am. I just felt completely hopeless and powerless to do anything at all except sit there and watch like I was an audience to the movie of my life. But in that moment, she spoke to me in this raspy, hollow, whispering voice and said, "You will be mine forever." I flew out of bed, moving my fingers as quickly as possible over my face and hair as if I were trying to get bugs off of me. I was sweating profusely, even though the AC was running full blast. I ran to the bathroom mirror to see if anything had happened to my face or if I could see any evidence of what just happened. I was breathing so damn hard, it felt like I ran a marathon. My heart was beating incredibly fast, and my fight or flight response was turned up to a higher level than it's ever been before in my entire life. I mean, she was touching my face with those disgusting fingers. I could feel her fingers on my face and in my hair. What the hell just happened? There's no way this is real. Why is this happening to me? As I frantically searched my head and my body for signs of what happened, I couldn't find a damn thing. Am I losing my mind? What the hell is going on? How am I going to even try to explain this to anyone without sounding insane? Thank you guys so much for watching. This is based on my real life personal experiences that I've had. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support will help me keep on making these creepy videos for you. Stay tuned for part 2 coming next week where the mystery deepens. You won't want to miss it.